I sit on this show on many, many occasions, and I find myself to be incredibly objective. I get annoyed at people who accuse me of being a LeBron hater because I got news for you. I'm going to say something that people don't realize. I love LeBron James. I think he's a good man. I think he's an incredible role model, and I hope he and his family, if I ever hope that he was watching the show, I hope it's right now because of what I'm about to say to him. His children, his wife, everybody, his family members, his friends. I got mad love for LeBron James and the iconic figure that he is and the manner in which he has represented himself is just astronomical. To come into the league at age 17, to be on a cover of Sports Illustrated, for the expectations to be leaped on his shoulders, and for him, the only thing in his career that has created a stain is the decision. I mean, it is as close to perfection as it gets when it comes to handling. I got mad love for this brother. He is a special, special man. But I preface my comments by saying that because I want him to listen to what I'm about to say. I'm starting to get worried about LeBron James. And here's why. I just played that sound for y'all from the shop. Just this Friday night, I was at that game in L.A. They played New Orleans. And it's the aftermath of the Anthony Davis brouhaha and whether he's coming to L.A. or not. What does LeBron James say to the reporter? Ask me who would I want to play with, blah, 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 Kevin Durant, Jimmy Butler, Kemba Walker, all of these guys. Of course, I want to play with star, blah, blah, blah. And he said, quote, they ain't going to control me. I'm going to say what I want to say. That's his mentality. He has gotten to a point where obviously because of his wealth, his riches, his fame, and everything like that, he is coming across as an individual who believes he can say whatever it is that he wants to say. I applaud it. I admire it. He's in a position most, if not every black man I've ever known, wishes they were in. But in the process of that, let's be clear, you're going to have people that are going to come at you with being mission-minded about the business of humbling you because there is nothing most folks, in terms of the black community, Max, and what we believe, there is nothing that most folks fear nor detest than a black man who comes across as arrogant enough to believe that he can say what he wants to say, when he wants to say, and how he wants to say it. I admire it. I'm not knocking it. I'm simply saying he might want to be careful. See that coming, because here's where the Jewish community comes in and what I wanted to point to with you about. Here's the thing about it that's incredibly important. To most folks, and I can't speak for everybody, I'm a black man, I'm 51 years old, I grew up in the streets of New York. I've had to deal from a business perspective, from a personal perspective, with a lot of folks from the Jewish community time and time again. When folks speak about the Jewish community, it's not negative. You might sit up there and you might say, when I say stuff like Max Kellerman, when I say the Jewish community is together, just the perception-wise, you'll come back and say, that's not necessarily true.
Yeah, what community?
And I would say to you, no, Max, I'm not refuting it because you would know. I'm talking from the outside looking in as those that are on the outside. That's your house. We may not know. But from our perception, we think about pooling money and resources. We think about being together as one. We think about the power structure and the positions that people are in terms of influence and decision-making ability. And when a lot of us look at the Jewish community, I know from a personal perspective, I look at the Jewish community with admiration because I find myself thinking about not necessarily looking at you from an admirable perspective as a community because of you yourself. I'm looking at the black community, wishing that our resources were pooled, wishing that we were together as one, wishing that we had the mentality that you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us. And I'm not saying that's accurate.
Right.
I'm simply saying that from the outside looking in, not knowing what you know as a black man and as black people in this nation that continuously lament our state of affairs and how we constantly have to climb and scratch and claw our way to relevance, let alone to the top. When we view the Jewish community, we look at them and go like this. Damn, we wish we were in that position.
Well, this is what I would say.
And so when you look at the lyrics and what have you, and people are talking about Jewish money and stuff like that, you're not speaking about it negatively. You're speaking about something your community may not necessarily
Well,
have
I
in
think
abundance, and it's a problem.
You're expressing a perception, and you're acknowledging that may be different from reality. And I'm here to tell you it is very different from reality.
Okay.
But it's okay for you to express that perception so long as it's coming from a good place. And now it as you would say, sparks a dialogue and enlightens, rather than feel that you can't make a comment about someone or something or some group. Because if you don't express the idea perfectly, or if your perception is incorrect, or if somehow you're not perfectly articulate about it, now you're in trouble. This is what LeBron is facing right now. I'm going to address your point in a second.
Sure.
First of all, I disagree that LeBron should be careful. Muhammad Ali sacrificed a whole lot, and he was arrogant as could be. And he came along at a time when this country was not ready for it. And he sacrificed years of his career, and he was reviled early on and everything. But because he had the courage of his convictions, he, among other things, he wound up as the most celebrated athlete in the history of planet Earth. The planet Earth knows Muhammad Ali, knows the name more than any other athlete, what he stood for. And so to make change like that, to have that kind of legacy, you have to be willing to be uncomfortable.
Okay.
To do the inconvenient thing. I think LeBron James, though he should be, just give me a second because this is,
okay.
that LeBron James, I know what you mean about be careful, your life could be made more difficult. It's okay. His life maybe at times can be more difficult in order for him to lead, even if that means expressing himself imperfectly, betraying an ignorance about a subject. If his heart's in the right place, he'll learn about it. He'll become enlightened.